It is November the 10th, 2025. My name is Professor Khalil Amani, and this is Khalil Amani's World 100. Welcome. Special video. I know some of y'all want me to address it, and I shall address it. I'm talking about the YouTuber, the Hebrew Israelite YouTuber known as Doctrine, whose real name is Carl Albert Davis. I said I'm talking about the Hebrew Israelite teacher on YouTube who calls himself Doctrine. I call him Struggle Doctrine. I want to make this record for any time we may have to go to court, and I want the courts to understand that this is YouTube, where we have fair use and we can go back and forth with banter, and we can create our own narratives and perceptions of people, places, and things. So to the United States Courts of America, I am Khalil Amani, and I do Bible talk and other things on this channel. I'm a 65-year-old man who's retired, and I do YouTube as a hobby for fun, and as I like to say, for shits and giggles. Alright, let's get to it. There's two things I want to address in here, and that is this Hebrew Israelite teacher named Doctrine. I want to address his Bible conversation, that he's a liar, that he's incorrectly speaking on the children of Israel who came out of the wilderness, the so-called biblical Exodus. And I want to address him claiming that he has sent me a cease and desist. I haven't seen it. I mean, I saw the so-called cease and desist letter on his community wall on YouTube. I guess Doctrine, this Hebrew Israelite, I guess he's trying to be his own lawyer and his own attorney. But you know what they say about a man who represents himself. I said, you know what they say about a man who represents himself. To the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you didn't know, the saying is, a man who represents himself has a fool for a client. Wow. Wowzer, wowzer, wowzer. I said the man who represents himself has a fool for a client. That's crazy. I don't know who came up with that, but it sounds about right. If you haven't gone to someone's college or university and gotten a JD degree, a jurist, a doctor in jurisprudence or law, and you think you can effectively represent yourself without a trained lawyer or a trained attorney, well, you're fooling yourself. And thus, the phrase, the man who represents himself has a fool himself for a client. And it's evident that this guy, this Hebrew Israelite YouTuber that I call Struggle Doctrine, he calls himself Israel Doctrine. It's evident that he ain't got no money. He ain't got no lawyer. He's on SSI. Can't work. Stroked out. Had a whole stroke at age 45. And so his whole life is sitting on YouTube trying to create drama and whatnot. So now he wants to play Perry Mason. He thinks he's a lawyer. I'm talking about this Hebrew Israelite named Israel Doctrine. I found the button to press. Yes, I did. I found the button to press. He doesn't like to be called a Hebrew Israelite, but he is. Now, there are many different Hebrew Israelites in America, just like there are many Christians in America. Not all Christians have the same belief, and so it is with the Hebrew Israelite movement. Not all Hebrew Israelites have the same belief. They diverge, they wander, there's aberrations. That's just the way it is, because the Bible is a book that can be interpreted in 1,001 ways. And even though someone claims to be a Christian, they don't agree with that Christian. Thus, they call themselves a Baptist and a Methodist and an Episcopalian and a Jehovah's Witness and a Seventh-day Adventist and a Southern Baptist and a Kojic Church of God in Christ and a COG Church of God and a Pentecostal and a Lutheran and a Catholic. But they all are Christians. They just think that they are the right Christian belonging to that particular denomination. And so it is with this Hebrew Israelite named Israel Doctrine. He's a Hebrew Israelite. Now, admittedly, he doesn't like the phrase Hebrew Israelite. He would rather call himself an Israelite. He wants to drop the Hebrew from the phrase Hebrew Israelite, owing to the fact that you can't find the phrase Hebrew Israelite word for word in the Bible. But we do find in 2 Corinthians 11, or is it 1 Corinthians? I want to fact check. I want to make sure where Paul talks about it. Is it 1 or 2 Corinthians? Let's just make sure we on the right. I think it's 2 Corinthians, but let me just fact check myself. Let's see. Yes, I was right. 2 Corinthians 11:22. We do find those two words, Hebrew and Israelite, in the same book, in the same chapter, and in the same verse. And it reads as follows. It reads as follows. Are they Hebrews? So am I, says Paul. Are they Israelites? So am I, says Paul. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. So even though we don't find the words Hebrew Israelite back to back, hyphenated as a conjunction, we do find the words Hebrew Israelite in the same book, in the same chapter, and in the same verse. 2 Corinthians 11:22. I said, this YouTuber, Israel Doctrine, he's a Hebrew Israelite. He's a Hebrew Israelite who would prefer to just be called an Israelite. I get it. Just like the varying types of Christianity in the world, Hebrew Israelites can differ in their beliefs, yet they are Hebrew Israelites. You got the Yahweh ben Yahweh people in Miami, a group I used to be a part of in the 80s, Hebrew Israelites. You got Sakari, Hebrew Israelites. These are different groups. IUIC, ISUPK, GMS, Great Millstone, and there's many others. Just like there are many Christian denominations, there are Hebrew Israelite denominations. And this guy, this YouTuber, this Hebrew Israelite YouTuber, who calls himself Israel Doctrine, he is a former member of the Israel of God Church, another Hebrew Israelite group that he has since renounced. According to his commentary, he became a Hebrew Israelite somewhere around 96, studied with the Hebrew Israelites, was a Hebrew Israelite, knew the Hebrew Israelite teacher, Elder Bowie, studied with him for a few years, and some kind of way he felt uncomfortable with the phrase Hebrew Israelite, and he jumped ship and went on down the road. And so on YouTube, again, he would like to call himself an Israelite, but his roots are in the Hebrew Israelite nation. He is a Hebrew Israelite. Just because he chooses to not use the word Hebrew, it doesn't disqualify him from being a Hebrew Israelite. Again, just like Christians have different understandings of Christianity and Christ, there are different understandings of being a Hebrew Israelite. And some Hebrew Israelites just simply prefer the term Israelite. He's one of those Hebrew Israelites that prefer the term Israelite. Now, what makes Israel Doctrine a Hebrew Israelite? The basic tenets of the Hebrew Israelite belief system. Does Israel Doctrine believe that black people in America are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? He would say yes. That would qualify him as a Hebrew Israelite. Does Israel Doctrine believe that there was a prophecy in Genesis 15:13 about a 400-year stay in a strange land, also found in the book of Acts chapter 7 verse 6, where it talks about God's people sojourning in a strange land and entreated evil for 400 years. Does Israel Doctrine believe in that? The answer would be yes. These two scriptures, Genesis 15:13 and Acts 7:6, are the root and the foundation of the Hebrew Israelite theology. And Israel Doctrine, this Hebrew Israelite who prefers Israelite, he wholly believes in Genesis 15:13 and Acts 7:6 that we are the prophecies of the people that would be put in a strange land for 400 years. That's the basic and the foundation of being an Israelite or a Hebrew Israelite. The term is interchangeable. Now, he got an issue with it. He got an issue with being called the Hebrew Israelite so much. I have vexed him so much that he has now called himself trying to sue me, trying to haul me into court for saying he's a Hebrew Israelite. He's a Hebrew Israelite. He came through the Hebrew Israelite ranks of the Israel of God Church under Elder Bowie, and he continues to talk Hebrew Israelite theology. Some of the things he say are a little different than some of the other Hebrew Israelites, but we know that because every Hebrew Israelite camp is different. The Yahweh ben Yahweh Hebrew Israelites, they don't believe what the IUIC Hebrew Israelites believe, who don't believe what the ISUPK Hebrew Israelites don't believe, who don't believe in what Great Millstone Hebrew Israelites believe, who don't believe in what the Sakari Hebrew Israelites believe. So they don't have a monolithic and monolinear understanding. There is no monolithic view of Hebrew Israelite theology. And so this YouTuber, Israel Doctrine, he's simply another Hebrew Israelite who has diverged from the path of some of the teachings of his former following, his former cult, the Israel of God. But to prove that a Hebrew Israelite and an Israelite are synonymous, that they're the same thing, it's just wordplay. It's just semantics. Israel Doctrine might consider himself an Israelite and not a Hebrew Israelite, but I tell you people, it's pure semantics. Semantics is wordplay. Semantics is, I would rather use this word instead of this word. But in all actuality, they're the same thing. They're the same thing. And so, let me put on my professor glasses to show you, to make the point of what I mean, is when we look up, simply look up synonym for Hebrew Israelite. Let's see what a synonym is. A word that's similar to another word. So we're looking for words that are similar to Hebrew Israelite. And when we do that, it says synonyms for Hebrew Israelite include Jew, Hebrew, and Israelite. Oh my. Let's see how this is going to hold up in court. The fact that I call Israel Doctrine a Hebrew Israelite. This is all the proof I need if I ever go to court and say, yes, he's a Hebrew Israelite. A synonym, a word for Hebrew Israelite, is actually Israelite. Let's see how a jury and a judge interprets that. Have I violated Israel Doctrine for calling him a Hebrew Israelite? When we look up, according to AI Overview tells me that a Hebrew Israelite, that a synonym for a Hebrew Israelite is also, plain and simple, an Israelite. As these terms are often used interchangeably to refer to the people of Israel. Wow, wow, wow. I said the term Hebrew Israelite, synonyms for Hebrew Israelite include Jew, Hebrew, and Israelite, as these terms are often used interchangeably to refer to the people of Israel. Okay, that's all I need for court. And by the way, I do have attorneys. Not attorney, I do have attorneys. But this is not going to court because it's just a matter of a YouTuber who's just upset that I have outed him as a Hebrew Israelite. He's trying to move away from the Hebrew Israelite name because he understands that people like the Anti-Defamation League and the Jewish Defense League and the Southern Poverty Law Center have all labeled the Hebrew Israelite movement a terrorist, anti-United States, anti-government movement, anti-Israeli, anti-Jewish, that they are an anti-Semitic movement. I said the JDL, the ADL, and the Southern Poverty Law Center have all labeled these so-called Israelites or Hebrew Israelites as being anti-Semitic, anti-American, anti-European. Yeah. That they are highly racist and highly anti-Semitic. And so Israel Doctrine, he believes that, you know, some white people and some Europeans, some Jews, they can be a part of the kingdom. They can be a part of the kingdom. That's what the divergency of different Hebrew Israelite camps do. You have a Hebrew Israelite camp that believes, most of them believe in the anti-Semitism, that the Jew is an imposter. They will quote Revelations 2:9 and Revelations 3:9 that says, basically, I know thy works, and I know them who claim they are Jews and are not. But YouTuber Israel Doctrine, he is a Hebrew Israelite at his core. At his core. That is his foundation. That is his background. And he continues to believe that black people in America are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He believes that black people in America, the Old Testament is their history. He believes that black people in America are foretold in the prophecies of Genesis and Acts of a 400-year stay in a strange land and entreated evil. That's the core tenets of the Hebrew Israelite movement. So yes, Israel Doctrine is a Hebrew Israelite at his core. And not all Hebrew Israelites agree and believe the same thing. Just as not all Christians believe the same thing. That's why we have different denominations and sects of Christianity. So it is with the Hebrew Israelite movement. So it is with the Hebrew Israelite movement. Now let's go a little bit further. How dare this guy, Israel Doctrine, wanting to serve me with a cease and desist. And got nerve to say in his cease and desist, I'm supposed to make a public apology and a renunciation. I'm supposed to renounce calling him a Hebrew Israelite. Well, I'm doubling down and I'm still calling him a Hebrew Israelite. Because that's what he is. I don't care what he wants to call himself. His religious theology, it lines up with the Hebrew Israelite movement in many aspects. He says I'm slandering him. Well, let's talk about slander. This is from the mouth of a man who has slandered a lot of people on YouTube. See, Israel Doctrine, he believes himself special. Well, he is kind of special. I'm just saying. But he thinks he's above the fray of being labeled certain things. Israel Doctrine has made a career on YouTube of making up felonious lying narratives about other people. Let's start with me. Let's start with me. Shall we? Shall we? He wants to take me to court because I call him a Hebrew Israelite, which he is. He wants to sue me for it. He says it's not true. He says I'm slandering him. But let's take me, for instance. Those of you who have been watching this back and forth between me and Pizzy, as I call him also, Struggle Doctrine, as I call him also, his legal name, Carl Albert Davis. Let's look at the slander he has done to me. Should I take him to court because he claims that I got caught selling drugs and that's why I became a government informant? Now, it's true. It's true that I was a government informant. It's true that I once cooperated with the FBI. It's even true that I went into the Federal Witness Protection Program and had my identity changed. All that's true. I wrote a book about it. I wrote a book about cooperating with the government. I wrote a book about being in another Hebrew Israelite cult. I wrote a book about being in the Witness Protection Program. All that. But what Israel Doctrine has done, he's gone beyond my words. He's gone beyond my book. He's gone beyond the 6 national TV shows that I've been in. He's gone beyond Where's it at? He's gone beyond the fact that I have even been in places like People magazine telling my cult story. I'm just trying to make sense of this ignoramus. I said, I have even been in places, that's me in the white turban. I've been in places like People magazine. My life is an open book. Not only that, a woman who wrote a book about the cult that I was in, who won 2 Pulitzer Prizes in journalism, one of them in 1991 for covering my particular Hebrew Israelite cult for the Miami Herald. Her name was Sidney P. Friedberg. And my life story is in her book. And there are at least three pictures of me in her book. So my life is thoroughly documented in a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist book, in People magazine, in many newspaper articles, and my own book that I just showed you. I'm documented. Yet, this Hebrew Israelite, known as Israel Doctrine, for 8 years, he has bastardized my cult story. He has bastardized my life. He has gone on YouTube and said that I got busted for selling drugs, and that's how and why I became a government informant. Is it true? It's absolutely not true. I have every right to sue the draws off of that man, but I don't want to wear his stinky draws. I do not want anything to do with his crusty skid mark draws, his underwear. He has nothing worth suing. But what he has said about my life, after I have told him repeatedly and done repeated videos saying that I simply walked into the FBI of my own free will to become a government informant. I've shown you news clips. I've shown you interviews. I've shown you an actual FBI agent. Without calling my name, he tells you that a guy walked in and began to tell us what was going on in the Yahweh cult. I got the FBI on YouTube saying it. I got the Pulitzer Prize journalist saying that I drove down to the windowless FBI office on Biscayne Boulevard. And then I say in my own autobiography, my own memoir, I tell the whole story leading up to the morning that I got in my hoopty in my car and drove down to the FBI office, went up to the second floor on the elevator, knocked on the glass and spoke to a beautiful European woman and told her what I was there for. I tell all of this information, yet this YouTuber, this Hebrew Israelite YouTuber, Israel Doctrine, he don't want to believe all of these narratives that say the same thing about how I became a government informant. He wants to insist that I was a drug mule and I got caught running drugs from Miami to DC. He says that because I tell a half a paragraph story in my memoir where I admit that when I got out of the cult, I spent about 6 months in the drug game, trying to get some fast money to get on my feet, to get my life together. After 5 years of being in a cult, I left with no money, not a dime in my pocket. And yes, I broke the law in search of trying to get on my feet and get money. And so I tell the story that I took some drugs for a drug dealer from Miami to Washington, D.C. I also tell the story that one time me and my friends, we did a stick-up. We robbed a store. I was on a bad path. It's 35, almost 40 years ago. But that period of my life lasted for 6 months. And if I had kept going, there's a great possibility that I would have been caught, arrested, and charged. But the reality is I didn't do it enough to get on the Metro-Dade County Police radar. I didn't do it enough to get on the FBI's radar as a drug dealer, a drug mule, or any of that. I simply stopped on October 31st, 1985. It was about 4 or 5 months that I dabbled in taking drugs. And because I write about that and talk about that, this guy, this Hebrew Israelite, Israel Doctrine, instead of respecting my testimony, instead of respecting my narrative, he says, bullshit. You got caught selling drugs. You got caught as a drug mule. That's why you became a government informant. That's slander and outright lies, and goes against my writings, goes against the writings of the Pulitzer Prize winning journalists, and goes against everything I've said in People magazine and 6 national TV shows. But he won't believe it. You know what he says about everybody else? Because everybody agrees on the subject. Everybody agrees on the narrative that I simply walked into the FBI office. You know what he says? That the FBI and that the authors and the news, TV, and People magazine, they're all in collusion to make me to hide my sins, to hide the fact that I got caught selling drugs. That's what he says. That's his narrative, that everybody is colluding. Everybody is confederate. Everybody has sat down in a meeting room and said, okay, the story we are going to put out to the world about Khalil Amani is that he simply drove down to the FBI and walked in. We are not going to tell the people that we actually caught him selling drugs, and that's how he became a government informant. Should I sue him for that? You see, this Hebrew Israelite, Israel Doctrine, he thinks he's above the fray. He thinks he's important. He thinks his life, when people speak about his life, you got to speak 1,000% correct because he said it. But he gets on YouTube. Y'all notice I'm refraining from using curse words and stuff. But he can get on YouTube and he can absolutely lie on my backstory, on my narrative. And for 8 years, he has been saying that I got caught selling drugs, and that's how I became a government informant. It is a 1,000% lie, yet he continues to spew it. But look at us on November the 10th, 2025. I'm tired of Khalil calling me a Hebrew Israelite. I'm going to serve him a cease and desist. You see, Mr. Hebrew Israelite, Israel Doctrine, you should have thought about that when you spent 8 years trying to destroy my character. When you spent 8 years in character assassination. When you spent 8 years trying to tell me that what I wrote about my life and what other people wrote about my life was a lie, that they were colluding to create a false narrative about how I became a government informant. It didn't matter that you were lying to people. You stood on that shit. Oh, fuck it. You stood on that shit. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Excuse my profanity every now and then. I get a little, I'm a little gregarious. I get a little excited. So excuse my profanity. But for 8 years, this guy over here, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, for 8 years, he told the lies that I was caught selling drugs, and that's why I became a government informant. And here's the reality of it, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Here's the reality. The reality is, if I had gotten caught selling drugs and that's why I became a government informant, I would simply say that. I have already revealed that I was a government informant. I have already revealed that I became a member of the Federal Witness Protection Program. What else is there to hide? Why is that little piece of information worth hiding? I mean, if I was going to hide, I wouldn't have wrote a book about it. I would have just said, shh, and went on about my life. Why is that a point of contention, being busted for drugs, worth leaving out of my story? What's so bad about that? If I did it, I did it. I even tell the world that I actually was running drugs from Miami to DC. Why would I not want to tell that one part? He ran drugs from Miami to DC. He cooperated with the FBI. He was in the Witness Protection Program. Wow, those are heavy duty things to disclose to the public. But I wouldn't disclose that I got caught selling drugs. It doesn't make sense, is what I'm saying. I told too much as it is. Why would I leave that out? But for 8 years, Struggle Doctrine, aka Israel Doctrine, aka Carl Albert Davis, has ran with that lie, has done repeated videos standing on his lie, standing on his slander of me. And today, on November the 10th, 2025, he wants to put a cease and desist letter because I call him a Hebrew Israelite. If you don't get your monkey ass, sit your monkey ass down somewhere. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Let's talk about another person. We talk about slander. YouTuber Hassan Campbell. YouTuber Hassan Campbell. For many years, 5, 6, 7 years, this same guy, this Hebrew Israelite named Israel Doctrine, who wants to claim he's serving me with a cease and desist for calling him a Hebrew Israelite, which he is. For 7, 8 years, you know what he did to this other YouTuber named Hassan Campbell? He created a whole fake, phony, false, pseudo movement called What Happened to That Boy? And for 8 years, this Hebrew Israelite named Israel Doctrine claimed, projected, tried to put in the minds of people that this YouTuber Hassan Campbell had something to do with the murder of a young Spanish man who had stabbed hip-hop pioneer, hip-hop legend, Africa Bambaataa. That this guy who wants to sue me today, who wants to serve me with a cease and desist for calling him a Hebrew Israelite, for 8 years, he pointed the finger at another YouTuber named Hassan Campbell and tried, unsuccessfully, to make people believe that that YouTuber murdered a young Spanish man. He insinuated it. He put the information out there. He even used Hassan Campbell's own words against him. Because one time, a couple of times, Hassan Campbell makes the comment that he was given a picture of this young Spanish man. And Hassan Campbell says, I was going to be the one to murder that man for Africa Bambaataa. He admits that Africa Bambaataa gave him a picture. He admits that he was going to be the one to murder the young Spanish man, but he does not admit to doing it. And he has said he didn't do it. He has said that when he saw the picture, the young Spanish man looked like a younger version of himself, and he couldn't bring himself to do such a dastardly deed. But this guy, this YouTuber, this Hebrew Israelite YouTuber, Israel Doctrine, like he did my story, like he continued to maintain that I was caught selling drugs for 7, 8 years, he maintains that there's a great possibility that this YouTuber Hassan Campbell has something to do with the death of a young Spanish man. And his reasoning is, we can't find him. He ain't never came out. That's no reason. Like maybe the young Spanish man wants to put his past behind him. Maybe the young Spanish man doesn't want to relive the horror of that night where Bambaataa allegedly molested him. But this is the kind of stuff, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that this particular plaintiff who has called us into this courtroom for some nonsensical BS simply because I call him a Hebrew Israelite, and I show you on the internet, on AI, that a synonym for the phrase Hebrew Israelite is in fact Israelites. See? This guy, this YouTuber, this Hebrew Israelite YouTuber, he thinks that he can bastardize Khalil Amani's life story. He thinks he can bastardize Hassan Campbell's story, put murder on people. And it's okay. It's not worth being sued over. That he has his right to stand on his theory, his hypothesis, his understanding of an event that happened on April the 1st, 2013. Hassan Campbell has told this YouTuber, this Hebrew Israelite YouTuber, Israel Doctrine, that he's a liar, that he did not murder the young man. Yet for 8 years, this Hebrew Israelite YouTuber, Israel Doctrine, has not let off and has not let up. He's got a goo-gobs amount of videos out there talking about what happened to that boy and insinuating. He doesn't say that Hassan Campbell actually murdered the young Spanish man. He goes right up to the line. He walks right up to the line and insinuates and postulates and theorizes and hypothesizes that in fact and indeed YouTuber Hassan Campbell did murder the young man. But today, November 10th, 2025, he wants a court hearing because another YouTuber, Khalil Amani, calls him a Hebrew Israelite. The nerve that this, I gotta say it, this hypocritical bastard spent his YouTube career lying on my backstory, lying on another YouTuber, Hassan Campbell's backstory. Outright lie. These are outright fabrications where Hassan and Khalil have both showed him the evidence of the stories about their lie. We have both done it. And he doesn't change. He continues to dig deeper and to double down and say that Hassan Campbell probably has something to do with the murder of a young Spanish man. He continues to double down and says Khalil Amani only became a government informant because he was caught selling drugs. He continues to double down on those lies. But today, he writes on his community wall and tags me, some bullshit cease and desist, because I call him a Hebrew Israelite. I said, the nerve, the narcissism and egoism of people who think they can talk about everybody's life. What time is it? Who think they can talk about everybody's life, but when you talk about their life, they want to drag you into court. And the fact of the matter is, Israel Doctrine is a Hebrew Israelite. I don't care what he personally likes to call himself. Bravo! It doesn't matter that he wants to call himself simply a Hebrew Israelite. We know that the phrase Hebrew Israelite, according to the definition and the synonym, is replaceable with the word Israelite. He wants to go to court on a lie, but the lies that he has told on myself and on Hassan Campbell, they have to stand. Let's talk about another person that he has slandered. A beautiful author and researcher and film producer, documentary person, a lady who owns her own newspaper in the city of Chicago. I'm talking about Miss Layla Wills. She created the documentary Trapped in a Culture about the Africa Bambaataa alleged pedophilia and child molestation. A prominent hip-hop figure. This same Hebrew Israelite YouTuber, Israel Doctrine, he slandered her name also. First he called her a bitch and a whore, but going beyond the name calling, there was a particular young man that this woman would interview for her documentary, as she interviewed me for her documentary. If you didn't know, I'm the first person to write about the Africa Bambaataa stabbing on April 1st, 2013. That's why I was in her documentary. But this woman would go on and interview another person related to the Bambaataa Zulu Nation. And after she interviewed the guy, some weeks or months later, the guy had fled New York for his life. He was already fearful that Africa Bambaataa's Zulu Nation wanted him dead. So he moved to Atlanta to start a new life, wherein this beautiful, articulate, intelligent, and smart producer and documentary person, this author, she goes down there to interview the guy about his involvement in the Zulu Nation. And weeks or months later, coincidentally, the guy is killed. He's murdered in Atlanta. After he was interviewed for this woman's documentary, Trapped in a Culture, what does this YouTuber, this Hebrew Israelite YouTuber, Israel Doctrine, do when he hears that somebody was killed that was interviewed in this woman's documentary? What does he do? He goes on another YouTuber show named Kevin Gillespie, aka Kev Gills, aka Kev Rowe, a pothead out of Los Angeles who had a YouTube show. And they get together and do a live face-to-face show. And this Hebrew Israelite, Israel Doctrine, he concocts a theory that this woman that interviewed the young man down in Atlanta who was murdered. He concocts between the two of them. They go on YouTube and they concoct a theory that this woman had something to do with the death and the murder and the killing of that man in Atlanta simply because she interviewed him some months ago. And this dude today wants to go to court because he's a Hebrew Israelite, and I call him a Hebrew Israelite. I'm showing you hypocrisy. I'm showing you the hypocrisy of a man who thinks his life, his story, his narrative is more important than other people's lives, stories, and narratives. See, my life and my narrative and my story, it wasn't important enough for this Hebrew Israelite named Israel Doctrine to use the facts of my life that were written in books, magazines, and on TV shows to stay with the script, because that's all you got. All you have is the script. He didn't want to stay with the mainstream script, which is the truth. He wanted to make his own narrative up of me. He wanted to make his own narrative of Hassan Campbell. He wanted to make his own narrative of Layla Wills. And so, this YouTuber, this Hebrew Israelite YouTuber, Israel Doctrine, having no care and concern for that woman in Chicago's welfare and her safety, he tried to destroy, he tried to assassinate her character by by saying that this woman had something to do with a man that was murdered in Atlanta simply because she once interviewed him. Without no proof, he goes on another YouTube channel and they put that theory together. And for years, this Hebrew Israelite YouTuber, Israel Doctrine, he puts it out there on YouTube. He don't care nothing about that woman's reputation as an upstanding citizen of the city of Chicago. A woman that done a lot of great work in politics, black history. She's on the committee to give the history of the Chicago Black Panthers. A woman who'd been quoted in Rolling Stone magazine, the largest music magazine in the world. A woman that created her own movement against child molesters and had an audience in New York, TV and camera, lights, action. A woman that created a whole biopic, a whole documentary about the Zulu Nation and Africa Bambaata's involvement in child molestation. He tried to tarnish and ruin that woman's reputation with a simple conjecture and a simple lie. And then the dude is up here today talking about suing me with a cease and desist, telling me I'm supposed to make a video and retract calling him a Hebrew Israelite. I tell you what, Israel Doctrine, I'll retract calling you a Hebrew Israelite when you retract saying that Hassan Campbell had something to do with the murder of a Spanish man. I'll retract calling you a Hebrew Israelite when you retract and say, Layla Wills, I'm sorry for putting you in a murder for hire. I'll retract my words when you go back and say, I recognize now that Khalil Amani did not get caught selling drugs. He simply and merely and purely walked into the FBI office of his own free will, of his own accord, of his own volition, and got to talking, got to snitching, got to ratting, whatever you want to say after that. Retract those statements, nigga. Excuse me, jury. Retract what you said about Hassan Campbell. Retract what you said about Layla Wills. Retract what you said about Khalil Amani. Just last week, you know what he did? He did a video, put my face up, and above my face, he put shitty blood. He called me shitty blood. What was he trying to say? What was he trying to say? No, he didn't call me shitty blood. What did he call me? Shitty blood is the other guy. Well, let's go look. Let's go look. I can't even think of what he called me. It's so weird. I don't want to quote him wrong. I don't want to quote him wrong. This happened the other day. Let me go to it here. Let's go to it. Let's just go to it. Okay, Israel Doctrine. Let's go to his page, and we'll see. What did he call Khalil Amani? Just the other day.
I hope Bible-believing Israelite Christians...
Oh, hush. Nobody believes you. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's see. What's he called me? I don't even see it. Did you take it down? His lives. Well, let's go to his videos real quick. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. You know, I think he's trying to... Is he trying to hide all the stuff he said about me? Now that he thinks he's going to sue me? Interesting. Well, I don't see it. What did he call me? Not shitty blood. What? What's he call me? He has a name for me. Oh yeah, he does call me Shitty Blood. Yeah, 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 yeah. He does call me Shitty Blood. I thought that's what he called me. See? That's Khalil Amani. That's me. This is his channel. This is the guy that wants to sue me today. This is the guy who says that I need to make a retraction for calling him a Hebrew Israelite. See, he shows you he's an Israelite. He ain't got no problem. He calls his channel Israel Doctrine Teaching of Israelite Americans. And we already read that a synonym for Hebrew Israelite is simply Israelite. So where am I lying on him? Where am I lying on him? See, this is his today videos. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, he got up this morning. He's so vexed that these two videos right here, I tried to watch both of them, but I realized right away that they're the same video. And you can tell because this is 9 minutes and 58 seconds, and this is 9 minutes and 59 seconds. Is that a coincidence? So I watched this one, and I went to watch this one and realized I was hearing this same video. So he's so vexed that he put the same video out 2 times. And the only reason that YouTube allowed it to go on there, because 1 second 58 versus 59, it changes the whole video, so he's allowed to put the video on there twice. I don't know why he did that. But after doing that this morning, he came back with a third and a fourth video. Oh, he was on one. He was on his 9 minutes and 17 seconds, 9 minutes and 15 seconds, 9 minutes and 59 seconds, and 9 minutes and 58 seconds. Oh, he woke up this morning vexed. But this is what he did to me, y'all. He wants me. 13 days ago, he put this up here. A picture of Khalil Amani, me, and called me Shitty Blood Khalil Amani. The guy that killed the rapper, I thought his name was Shitty Blood too. Let me look up. Is he called? I thought he had a different name from me versus the guy that killed the rapper. I'm having brain farts. Let me just do this real quick. Let me do this real quick. I'm having a serious mental brain fart, but that's okay. It'll come to me. Here, let's do this. Let's do one more thing. Let's see. Okay, so he calls me Shitty Blood because there was a rapper who was murdered. His name was Nipsey Hussle some years ago. And the guy who murdered Nipsey Hussle, let me find out his name so we can put this together. Let's put this all together because I just don't remember it. Who murdered Nipsey Hussle? Eric Holder. Okay, what was his name? Let's see. What did they call him in the street? A man named Eric Holder. Eric Holder's street name. Let's do this. Eric Holder. Eric Holder street name. I just don't remember. I know it's something blood. Let's see. Did it give us his street name right there? Eric Holder's. We're going to get this down. The user is likely asked about Eric Holder, the man convicted of murdering rapper Nipsey Hussle. Based on the search for Eric Holder's street name. Wow, it doesn't give it. Let's see, here's another one. Street Man, here, let me let y'all look at what I'm looking at. Let's see if it has a street name. Eric Holder. Okay, so his name is Eric Holder, but we're looking for his street name. Israel Doctrine would know his name. I think it's something Blood, Shitty. I think his name is Shitty Blood also. Here, let's do this. Let's do this here. Let's do this here. Eric Holder. And then we'll just type in Shitty Blood. Let's see if that's the name. Shitty Cuz. Okay, there it is. There it is. So, the guy who kills this rapper named Nipsey Hussle, his name was Shitty Cuz. I knew it was Shitty. Shitty Cuz, okay? His name was Shitty Cuz. But he names me Shitty Blood. What he's trying to insinuate is that I have ties to the Bloods. I said the man who murders Nipsey Hussle, his name is Shitty Cuz. His real name was Eric Holder. And so this is the kind of slander he does with me. I want the ladies and the gentlemen of the jury to see a video like this. I'll make sure I save this if I ever should go to court. But he slanders me by calling me Shitty Blood. It's a play on the man who kills a rapper and calls him, who's known in the streets as Shitty Cuz. You got it? I said the man who murders Nipsey Hussle is known in the street as Shitty Cuz, a gang member from Los Angeles. And so what he tried to do here is call me Shitty Blood, Blood being the name of a LA gang that he thinks I have ties to. I have never been in a gang in my life, but he slanders my name by claiming that I'm a Blood, and he puts the shitty on it because there's a lot of people that would love to hurt the other guy, Shitty Cuz, for murdering the rapper. Got it? This is the kind of stuff he does. But he wants to sue me. He wants to see me in court because I call him a Hebrew Israelite. And he's doing this kind of weirdo shit, calling me Shitty Blood based on a gang member named Shitty Cuz that murdered a rapper, a beloved rapper. Please. I'm glad I went in and got that together because I wanted to see. All this is good evidence for whatever. We ain't going to court over this. I ain't going to court. But, you know, he might win the lottery and get some money and actually get an attorney. And they do a search of my name and they get my address. And next thing you know, I do get a cease and desist and I get a court summons to go to court. Who knows? So this video I'm making here, it'll serve as my, it'll serve. I'll make sure I keep it in the file. And I'm sure he's going to download this video because I'm doubling down on calling Carl Albert Davis, Israel Doctrine, I'm calling him a Hebrew Israelite. You see? See how that works? I said Israel Doctrine, he believes that his life, his story, his narrative, his persona, that it should be held in pristine condition while disrespecting Hassan Campbell, while disrespecting Layla Wills, and by disrespecting Khalil Amani. He's lied on all three of us. Yeah. And just for the record, the young woman that would do the documentary on the Zulu Nation, she did sue that dude, Israel Doctrine. She hauled him into court on stalking charges. So Israel Doctrine, YouTuber, Hebrew Israelite, Israel Doctrine, he knows what it's like to be called into court because of his YouTube activities. He's the only YouTuber who has been called into court, charged and arrested for the crime of stalking. I'm just saying. he can call me shitty blood and try to put my name next to a known convicted killer like shitty cuz Eric Holder, and that's okay. That's okay that he does that to me. But me calling him a Hebrew Israelite, oh my God, that's worthy of a death sentence. He's a Hebrew Israelite. Not to mention, let's go a little further real quick. Some of you have heard his commentary about my dearly departed, my deceased, my dead mother. I have never, his mom has passed away too. I have never spoken ill against his mother. I won't, simply because I'm not going to let him take me down to his level of talking about dead people. He's got a whole gang of videos where he has called my mother a whore, a bitch, has said things like, fuck that bitch, fuck that whore. Every conceivable bad thing you could say about a man's mother who's no longer alive, he has said it. And in his mind, it's fine, it's okay, it means nothing. But me calling him a Hebrew Israelite. The same thing about my family. This Hebrew Israelite Israel Doctrine has posted goo-gobs of pictures of my mother, my siblings. He's gone on to Facebook and contacted my brothers, my sister. He's contacted my nieces and nephews with misinformation and lies and slander about me. He's done that in the past. And then one day, a few months ago, I post a single solitary picture of his nephew's family, not to disrespect him, because I do not disrespect his family. I post the picture showing that indeed and in fact, he has a blended family. He has white people in his family, because he was calling another YouTuber a biracial beauty named Leak-U Interloper Nation. Her daddy is black, her mother is white. But this same guy, Israel Doctrine, was on YouTube calling her a cave bitch. Cave meaning, European, Anglo-Saxon, troglodyte, the white caveman. He was calling her a caveman. And I simply found, and I didn't even know it, I simply went on his page and found evidence that he has so-called, what he's calling this interracial woman, because she has a white mother, calling her a cave bitch. I saw evidence that in his family, he has white nieces and white nephews and biracial nieces and biracial nephews. And I posted a single picture. I called his family beautiful. And I said, what a lovely family. He's got wonderful white and biracial people in his family. Why would he call that woman a cave bitch because she has a white mother, when in his own family he's got white nieces and nephews and biracial nieces and nephews? Why would he do that? I did it to show the hypocrisy. I never meant any disrespect, and I did not disrespect his family. I called them a lovely family, a beautiful family. And you know what he did? He got all crazy. Mind you, this is after he contacted my family, after he put my family on YouTube, after he showed my mother and my siblings on YouTube. My point is, he thinks he can violate other people, but he and his family is untouchable. That's all I'm saying. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And still, I did not disrespect his family. I didn't go in on him. I posted a single picture, maybe two pictures, of his beautiful family. And he went up to the ceiling
Oh yeah, he posed my family. I know I violated his mother. I know I violated his siblings. I know I violated his niece and nephews. I know I put pictures of his family on YouTube. But my God, how dare him put 2 pictures of my niece and nephew on YouTube? How dare him?
See how that sounds? False as fuck. Excuse my French. And so as I close this video out, I am going to continue calling YouTuber Israel Doctrine a Hebrew Israelite. It ain't going nowhere. Israel Doctrine has never done, he has never completed a task in his life. Why would I think this is the first task that he's going to complete and we're going to be face to face in a court of law? Why would I think that that would ever happen that day? He doesn't complete anything he started. He said he was doing a documentary. He didn't do no documentary. He did a couple YouTube interviews, and he slapped the word documentary on it. It wasn't no documentary. He didn't interview not one person associated with the Africa Bambaataa fiasco. Not one person. It was an interview, him and his woman. That's it. That's not a documentary. He said he was writing a book 3 years ago. He showed us a beautiful cover. He made the cover before he started really writing the book. 3 years ago, we ain't seen the book. He ain't talked about the book. He said he has a church. He ain't got no church. He's got a YouTube, he got a website that he took some stock photos off of Google Images of African people and put it on his channel. He ain't got no school. His What Happened to the Boy movement, it ain't no movement. It's him and 3 or 4 other people that want to, make a mountain out of a molehill. His mother died and left him a nice little home that he could live in. He let it run down and destroyed it. Now he's living in a 1-bedroom apartment somewhere, another part of Arkansas. Got a whole house. He couldn't even keep it up. He don't work nowhere. He never finishes tasks. He said, I'm going to do a debate league. What happened to the debate league? It ain't nowhere around. He always comes up and says he's going to do this, but he never does it. Instead of doing it and then announcing it to the people, instead of going, shh, I'm going to create this and then I'm going to show the world. He comes on there and claims what he's going to do. And then we sit back and say, okay, let's see it. And it never comes to fruition. And so this whole harebrained scheme, him claiming that he sent me a cease and desist order to I guess he sent it, I haven't looked at my emails yet. I guess he sent it to my email. A cease and desist letter claiming that I should stop calling him a Hebrew Israelite and to apologize and to retract. Can you imagine me retracting the truth that he is a Hebrew Israelite? Again, I'll retract calling him a Hebrew Israelite when he retracts trying to make Hassan Campbell a murderer. When he retracts trying to make Layla Wills a murderer. When he retracts trying to say that I was caught selling drugs and that's why I became a government informant. When you retract that, maybe I'll think about it. But how dare a man like this who has spread so many felonious lies on people think that his life, his narrative, his story is above the fray. He's above character assassination. You are no better than us. If you can talk about my mama, if you can talk about Hassan Campbell being a potential murderer, if you can think that Layla Wills is a potential murderer, if you can think that I potentially got caught selling drugs and started cooperating, then goddamn it, you can be a goddamn Hebrew Israelite. My nigga. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. That's just some local colloquialisms that we say in the hood. My nigga. It's actually a term of endearment and respect. All right, y'all. I was going to talk about his Bible stuff, but I'll do another video and we'll deal with the Bible stuff. Yeah, we'll deal with that today too. Yeah. All right, y'all. Khalil Amani, we out.